when I was a high school teacher, I was a science teacher. And I mostly taught public school, but near the end, I was teaching Christian school. And one of the greatest things about Christian schools is being able to intercede, anything I want to talk about regarding the Word of God. And I love that, and I took advantage of it. A lot of the Christian teachers I taught with, they just talked about, their subject, but I always brought the Bible into the equation. And no pun intended. And when I did that, most times as I was preparing my lesson for the day, I would pray, God, what do you want me to talk about tomorrow? Like, what is it you want me to talk about in your word? And amazing things came out of that. A lot of the students in my class, that was one of their favorite aspects of that class. And it was one of mine too. When it comes to this channel, I don't do that often, but this morning I did. I got up this morning and I was literally praying, God, what do you want me to talk about today? And I came outside to my deck and was moving a tarp off of the seats, and there was a hornet, I didn't see it, but as soon as I grabbed the thing, I grabbed right by him, and he stung me in my finger. And it really burned, but I've been stung. I've been like fighting wasps this year like crazy. If you've seen other videos, you've probably seen me bring up wasps. Because they're very aggressive. I'm down in the Ozarks. They're very aggressive around here. Like there was one time I just walked up to the door and one stung me on the shoulder. And this one got me hard. And so I stepped on it and squashed it in between the boards, so you can see it. Like here it is right here. Now I'm sharing all this because I'm about 6-7 hours into this. I've been stung by a bunch of wasps and it hurts for about 5 to 20 minutes. I am multiple hours. I'm like 5, 6, 7 hours into this, and I am in so much pain. It feels like it's in my bones, like the bones burn, and it's leaving this really weird marking on my hand. Like it almost looks like wax has dripped on my finger. I'm actually concerned. I'm a little worried because I can't really bend my finger. Like just trying to bend it hurts. I could do it, but it almost feels like it might be broken, if that makes sense. Like I could do it, but man, And I'm sure I'll be okay. Little worried though, to be quite honest. I've just never had it. I've never had anything like this happen where it just keeps going and going and hours in. And then I was like, oh wow, God, this reminds me of something in your word. And it's funny because as I was praying, God, what do you want me to talk about today? I get stung, and then I'm kind of dealing with other stuff throughout the day. I was filming some things I already had planned, and then as I was praying, I was doing a squirrel hunt, going through the book of Matthew, praying at one moment, and my hand just burned, and he was like, I want you to talk about that. So I'm going to turn to Revelation, where there's this moment in time, and a lot of people, it's important you go through the book of Revelation verse by verse. Because in order to fully grasp it, understand it, and do it multiple times, like do that like 20 times in your life. If you can, you'll still learn more. But when you look at the timeline, and if you look at Daniel, for example, in the last few verses of the book of Daniel, he talks about a 3.5 year stretch of time, but blessed are those who make it an additional 45 days. Now, think about that for a second. There's this some time before the 3.5 years ends and those 45 days ends, there's this moment in time that many prophets prophesied where the earth becomes dark. And that's at the end. That's when Jesus comes, that's the first light we will see. Like when they say you see him coming in clouds of glory, he is breaking through the darkness. It'll be dark up until that moment in time. So I want to kind of talk about this moment in time that the darkness comes, because once the darkness comes, stinging wasp type things also come. And they torment us so much that people beg to be dead. Like they can't, they would rather be dead than continue in this pain. And I'm not there at all for sure, but there's been several moments in the last 5 or 6 hours that I just I think to myself, if this was a lot worse, which I'm sure it would be, and you could, instead of being hours, we're talking days, maybe weeks. That's a whole different thing. So we're going to go to those verses real quick. We're going to go to Revelation 9, starting verse 1. Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. And the shape of the locusts was like horses prepared for battle, and on their heads were crowns of something like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. They had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. And they had breastplates like breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots with many horses running into battles. They had tails like scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. And their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them of the angels of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he has the name Apollyon. So this is incredibly fascinating because it also gives us a timeline of how long we got to look forward to this darkness. Because keep in mind, sometime before the end of the 3.5 years, and then of course before the end of the additional 45 days, there's a stretch of time, at least 5 months, that the entire planet will be darkened. And this is something that I just don't think a lot of people really think about. Like, what's that actually look like? Like, what does that really look like? Because here's what I know. I intend on being there. Like, my goal is to be alive until Christ returns. And if you ever watch my videos, I do not at all believe, because of the Word of God says so, that there is a pre-tribulation rapture. The Word of God clearly says at the last trumpet. So I plan on being here until the last trumpet, when Christ returns. And the only reason for the rapture is so this corrupt body can be incorruptible. So my mortality becomes immortality. So I can reign on earth with Christ for 1,000 years and not die. Like, that's the point of it all. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, but I plan on being here. And if you're here, there's this moment of time where it gets dark. First a third of the earth is darkened from a meteor, and then this moment, the entire planet becomes darkened from the smoke of the pit. And in that moment, there's these weird looking things that have the face of men and hair like women and teeth like lions, and they sting you. And it torments men for 5 months, and they just want to die. Like, could you imagine I've gone like 5-6 hours. I couldn't imagine going 5 months in so much pain. Like, you take this pain and you make it even a little bit worse. 5 months is pretty miserable. You make it a lot worse, people will want to die, literally. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. So, and it's not just the stings, because even now, as I sit here in pain and I think about, well, also, what if it was dark? What if there was this perpetual smoky darkness? And everything, the war is going on between the saints and the Antichrist, and then you get stung on top of that, and you just want to die because you're in so much pain. It's no wonder people want to die. People want to die when, it just is hard a little bit today. It's going to be very hard in those moments. But the secret is here, and it's really not much of a secret. I guess the key: they were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. So these are actually from God. Like these things, these weird, wicked things that are going to sting people, they're from God. Like they're going to sting everybody but those of us who are of God. And that's why I kind of brought up, well, if you're here, which I plan on being here, I'll definitely be fighting on the side of the saints, on behalf of the saints. And when all of a sudden all these scorpion things come out or wasp things come out and they start stinging the enemy only, that's great. That is great. Love these wasps. Love them. This is good stuff. And that king, their king, Abaddon, good job, Abaddon, man. Keep stinging them, buddy. Keep stinging them. This is something, you definitely want to be marked by God. And the only way to be marked by God is to be either one of the 144,000 Israelites or one of the multitude of tribes, nations, and tongues of Gentiles who are fighting for the things of Jesus Christ, pointing out the Antichrist, saying that is not Jesus, and refusing to take the mark of the beast. You know, you're either marked by the beast or you're marked by God. Can't be both, but it's one or the other, that's for sure. And that's how these things know who to sting and who not to sting. So there you go, man. Any thoughts or insight on any of that, definitely put that below.